In Matthew 26, verse 26, the Bible speaking says, as they were eating the Passover, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, "This is my flesh. Eat it, take, eat. This is my body." This is my body. Now, if you want to understand this, you have to go back to Exodus chapter 12. You have to go back to Exodus and you understand what this means. It's a mystery. The Passover is an event, is a symbolic event, very spiritual event that describes the deliverance of Israel from Egypt. The deliverance came by the death of the firstborn. Very powerful display of God's power over the Egyptians. And God ascribed it and emphasized the need for a generational remembrance of the Passover. Jesus is in Jerusalem now and they're about to eat the Passover. Go back there, it says, get a small lamb, a year-old lamb, and then you kill it, take the blood, put it on the door of your house, and then you burn the animal, the lamb, you burn it with fire, and you eat the flesh with bitter herbs. You eat the flesh. When you eat the flesh of a lamb, you are partaking of the victory of God over the Egyptians. If you compare the Old Covenant picture of the lamb and the New Covenant picture of the lamb, it was Israel that's supposed to suffer the penalty of the plague of the firstborns, because God is about to curse the whole of Egypt, the land of Egypt. And in the land of Egypt, there are Jewish people, covenant people in the land of Egypt. And the angel of death doesn't know who is an Egyptian or who is a Jew. Everybody, as long as you are in the land of Egypt, you are under the perpetual curse of God for the destruction of the firstborn. Now, God gives them a deliverance from the destruction of the firstborn by asking them to put the blood on their door and also asking them to burn the animal, the flesh, and eat it. You and I are supposed to be the ones suffering the penalty of sin on the cross. I'm telling you, every man born of a woman is supposed to suffer the eternal consequence of the sin of Adam. The sin of Adam in the garden was an eternal sin. It had eternal ramifications. Jesus now comes in and takes your place. He takes my place, that you don't have to suffer the eternal consequences of the sin of Adam. When they get the lamb to kill the lamb is going to struggle. Isn't it true? The lamb will struggle to defend itself, to fight, because they're going to tie the lamb with the two legs, the hands, and they're going to tie the lamb, and they're going to use knife and cut off the head of the lamb, and the lamb will fight for his life. That fight is the fight that happened on the cross. Jesus suffered the eternal consequences of your sin and my sin. Now, you don't have to suffer the consequences of the sin of Adam. It's eternal. The price has been paid once and for all. That's why he says, take, eat, this is my body. The body of Jesus is symbolic of his suffering on the cross. When you eat the flesh of Jesus, you are eating the suffering, the pain. You are participating mentally in the suffering of Christ. In other words, when you receive Jesus, you receive his suffering. You believe in his suffering. You appreciate the suffering, and now you thank him and trust him for the suffering. He suffered what you should have suffered. That is called substitution. In a football game, somebody goes in and replaces someone who's in the field. If Jesus was not there to suffer for your sin and for my sin, both of us, you cannot bear the consequence of sin. It's not possible. No man can be able to do so. Remember how they beat Jesus? Don't you remember? The Roman soldiers, they beat the hell out of his eyes. They beat him black and blue. They dealt ruthlessly with him. Why the hatred of Jesus? Why? Because it was hatred. Nothing concerns the Roman soldier with what was happening in Israel, in Jerusalem. Nothing concerns them, but the hatred in their heart was monumental. They beat Jesus until Jesus became disfigured. The Bible said in Isaiah 53, no man could desire to see him. He was completely off, torn to shreds, beaten helplessly. All his body was suffering from the effects of acute inflammatory response, swollen, beaten, crushed. That's the suffering you're supposed to suffer in hell. But Jesus took it, and you are now free from the suffering of eternal destruction. Why not give God thanks for saving you from hell? You don't know what you could have suffered. Do you know what you could have suffered? If you didn't have Jesus in your heart, you could have suffered a lot. I'm telling you. But God has been good to you. Have a good time. I'm Dr. Isaac, walking by faith. Bye.